So Sonu can say that I'm a federal trial lawyer, and I work I've handled some of the most.
So we are live. So we are live.
Yeah, good.
We are it's just buffering in 5 seconds. We'll go live.
Thank you. What are the other team members?
Please start.
Hello, Mr. Gehi. Hello, Mr. Lal. Welcome to the webinar that is conducted and sponsored by Mylegalsoftware. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys and everybody who's watching us for coming to the event and giving us this opportunity to learn from such a highly experienced attorneys like both of you. So hello everyone and good afternoon everybody who is listening to us. I am Anjali and I am your moderator for today, also heading the sales and marketing division for Mylegalsoftware. Mylegalsoftware is a legal case management software that is created for the lawyers by the lawyers. Today is Thursday, September 29th, and we are here with our webinars. Today we are going to talk about ABCs of filing a PERM application and I-140 petition. The series offers the perfect opportunity to improve your understanding of the fundamentals of employment-based immigration, gain familiarity with its basic features and procedures, as well as to learn insights from experienced and highly esteemed practitioners of employment-based immigration law with a proven track record. Please allow me to introduce one of our guest speakers, Mr. Lal, who is currently a senior attorney at the law office of Thomas V.J. Allen, PLLC, a business immigration law firm located in Dallas, Texas. Mr. Lal is a highly experienced immigration attorney with a specialty in novel and complex matters of employment-based immigration. Another guest speaker for today is Mr. Gehi, and Mr. Gehi is also a very highly experienced immigration and corporate attorney in New York who specializes in assisting clients in extremely complex immigration matters. Mr. Gehi is in the expert panel of the American Immigration Lawyer Association and has also been a speaker at AILA. Attorney Gehi is honored and has also lectured in the prestigious Press Club of America and Washington, D.C. Mr. Gehi has also been working in the Finance Committee of Honorable Hillary Clinton and is a personal advisor to the President of Suriname. So welcome, Mr. Lal. Welcome, Mr. Gehi. I'd like to give you guys a couple of minutes. Mr. Lal, first of all, I'd like to give you a chance to give a brief introduction more about you.
Thank you, Anjali, and hello, everyone. As Anjali said, I'm an attorney, immigration attorney, and my practice entirely focuses on business immigration matter. I specialize in employment-based immigration, and currently I'm working based out of Dallas, Texas, and working for a business immigration law firm. And I also just want to say thank you to Mr. Gehi and your firm for giving me this opportunity to speak at this panel. It's a really privilege and honor to be here today. Thank you.
So, hello, folks. It's such a pleasure being there. Just a slight correction that I have appeared in the past on the Ask the Experts panel of AILA, and I serve as the advisor to the president of Suriname, the Chan Santoki, and I am his advisor. So two important things, just some corrections from me, Anjali, since I prefer being perfect when I talk. So that's number one. And critically important is that I'm honored and humbled to have Sonu Lal with me today, excellent attorney. And Sonu used to work under me, and I'm very proud that he's very good in employment-based immigration. And so today we are going to talk about the nuts and bolts of the ABCs of the PERM application. And we are going to deep dive into some areas wherein a lot of people commit mistakes and blunders and the PERM application gets denied. Besides that, there are things that you may not know about the PERM application. And that's why Sonu and I are going to have a very interactive session today. And I'll be asking questions to Sonu. And then after that, he'll be answering. And if needed, I'm going to interject and we're going to take it to the next level. Bottom line is that if there's anything you want to ask, the rules are as follows. Please, you can use the chat box. You can ask us the questions. We'll try our best to help you with that. And even after this session, and if you want to become a member, you can join Mylegalsoftware and you can contact Anjali and take it further from there. But the good news for all of you is that, as you know, our last speaker was Jody Felice, former president of the Queens County Bar Association, a very respectable and a very well-known lawyer in New York. So he'll be on the advisory panel. And if anyone has problems with ethics in New York, especially grievance committee or something, he's there. And for employment-based immigration, I'm pleased and honored and humbled to say that Sonu has joined the panel. And if you're a very good lawyer and if you're very good at what you do, feel free to reach out to us. And if you want to be a speaker, you can definitely send a request to Mylegalsoftware. So let's get rocking today. So Sonu, all ready?
Yes.
Ready to rock?
Yes.
All right. So that's how I begin my shows. Number one, the common misconception is that exactly I'm new to PERM, I cannot do it. Number one, I tell people to pick the right books when it comes to the practice of employment-based immigration. Do you agree or no?
I agree.
Good. So there are a few books that I've recommended, and I'm going to give the complete set of books, and you can say yes or no. How's that? Let's begin from there.
Sure.
So I am a big fan of books such as Fragment, Del Rey, and Burnson, and that's meant for people who start off from the very basics. How do you feel about that?
Well, to be frank, I learned actually from that book only.
Thank you.
I
Sitting in my
recommend that
office,
book.
I remember you reading Fragment,
Yes.
Del Rey, and Burnson.
Yes.
So folks, not trying to market anybody, I'm a straight shooter. It's a good book for people to have a reference with Fragment, Del Rey, and Burnson, and I think they've done a fabulous job with that. So now, how would I kind of begin employment? Because this is an ABC. Eventually, we'll be getting into advanced sessions also. So don't worry, folks. It's going to be a step-by-step because we have a lot of people who registered who want to learn the PERM process very well. So number one is, before even you deep dive into filing a PERM, know a few things. There are occupations wherein you don't need a PERM, and you may be committing a blunder by filing a PERM. So we call them as Schedule A occupations. Am I correct, Sonu?
Yes, Mr. Gehi.
Good. So can you tell us what are these Schedule A occupations?
So Department of Labor listed certain kind of occupations. For those occupations, you don't need to go through the labor certification. So far, the Department of Labor listed only two professions. First one is physical therapist. Second one is nurse. So for these two occupations, if a foreign national comes, or maybe the employer comes that they want to sponsor a green card for them, you don't have to go through the PERM process for these two types of professionals. That's the bottom line.
Now look at this, what Sonu said. See, this is immediately you're spotting your errors right here. Physical therapist comes to you. And the first thing I would ask is whether you are licensed to practice over here, whether you finished up all the tests and the exams which are necessary, and whether you're certified. That is critically important. Secondly, by the word nurse, Sonu means registered nurse. There is a reason why there's a reason we are keeping these gaps. Is because a foreign nurse may come to you, hey, listen, I'm a nurse in that country. Why don't you basically apply for me? The answer is no. Have you taken the NCLEX or have you finished the CGFNS exam? Look at my questions, how pointed they are, folks, when you are questioning them. So now this person says, well, I passed my NCLEX, so I've done my CGFNS, and basically I've taken my English exams, and I've done all the exams, the screening tests are done. Now you should proceed with the Schedule A. Now with Schedule A, what do you mean by that? Bye-bye, PERM. I don't need you anymore. I can immediately get to the I-140 and you're filing for the person and you're good to go. So over here, you completely skipped the PERM application. Fantastic. Now, your nurse happens to be from India. Can you apply for a green card directly? Sonu, what's your answer?
No, Mr. Gehi. For applying for a green card, their priority date has to be correct.
Thank you. So for people who do not know the priority date, what should they do, Sonu?
They have to go to the Department of State's website, look at a visa bulletin.
Good.
There are certain charts.
Look what he said. We'll stop at those particular words. Look at the visa bulletin. This is where a lot of paralegals commit mistakes. Lots of them, Sonu. I've seen paralegals just finishing up because the session has lawyers and paralegals, and these paralegals are people who work for law firms. Your boss will be happy that you attended the session. I can promise you that. Next time he'll tell you, please go and appear there. He'll send you to our sessions. So now, having the I-140 approved means nothing if the PD is not current. And you can wind up in troubled waters if your client winds up being out of status here. So be careful about that. So which countries should they look at very carefully? So no, I know the answer, but it's time for you to answer when it comes to the priority date.
Yeah, generally, mainly India and China.
India and China.
These are the major backlog countries.
So folks, you need to look at the visa bulletin and write it down if you are taking notes. If they're from India and China, you just need to put in a lot of emphasis and be careful. So we discussed two categories here. Those are nurses, RNs, occupational therapists, and are there any other occupations under Schedule A?
No, they are not.
All right, good. So we are done with that. Now comes basically, you got this client, you're good to go with Schedule A. Now let's start the PERM process. Sonu, what's the full form of PERM?
Program Electric Review Management Process.
Well, it's Program Electronic Review Management.
Review Management.
All right, great.
Yes.
So PERM means exactly the thing is in the good old days, people used to write those forms down, and those were known as Form ETA, Part A and B, labor certification. Yeah. And later on, PERM came into existence. And PERM is an electronic form for people who are new who don't know what it is. Now, a lot of people are scared doing the PERM. Of course, you have to be scared because you have to be careful. What does PERM really require, according to me, as someone who has, by the way, used for people to know, and I think Sonu is a witness to this, the PERM, which is used by the government, if you know, Sonu, the example was done by our law firm, you know that.
Yeah, I remember.
So folks, the PERM that you're looking at, the sample which the government is using was done by Gehi and Associates. Yes, folks who are looking at this, yes, that was done by Gehi and Associates. You can look it up, that was done by our firm. So we were very careful when we did that PERM. The key is, how do they get you in the PERM application? So we are going to go step by step. I'm going to ask Sonu the question. So Sonu, right now, let's take an example that, I work for ABC Software Consultants, Inc. And my boss wants to sponsor me. And I have a 3-year degree from India, but I have this great education and everything. Fantastic 3-year degree from India, came in on an H-1B, and I'm over here right now. And ABC's boss wants to start basically the PERM application. What is the first thing you would do?
So generally, based on my experience, this is what I do. If a new client comes, let's say in your example, if the ABC consulting company comes to me, I ask a couple of things from the client to even start the process. First, the candidate's resume. Second, candidate's educational documents. Third, candidate's experience letters. Fourth, the employer's tax return. I can discuss more about that fourth thing
Right.
later
The
on.
ability to pay you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So initially, these are the documents I look at. And then if the candidate has a 3-year degree, the PERM becomes more challenging, more complicated.
Right.
In that case, probably I would get educational evaluation from an evaluation company, or maybe look further. Most of these candidates who have 3 years degree, generally they have a 2 years master's degree also.
Right.
And what we can do to start the process, we get an evaluation from an evaluation company saying that his education is equivalent to a US 4 years bachelor's degree.
4-year degree.
Yeah.
All right. So as I said, I always go a step further when I start, is I always get the evaluation done in the beginning. And a lot of lawyers actually commit that mistake because they think you need it during the I-140 stage. The answer is no. A smart lawyer, basically what he does, if you're in the kitchen, if you're a chef, you need to keep everything ready. You need to make sure that all the recipes, all the ingredients are fully in order before you take things to the next level. Fantastic. Well said, Sonu. So what Sonu has done over here, if you realize, so what I do is I keep the degrees, diploma, resume, work experience letters, as well as the credential evaluation in order. And deliberately, I'm taking the example of India because India can get very complicated. That's why I'm using that as an example first. Now, the next thing that I do, Sonu, is I look into the ability to pay. So the law on the point, folks, is that when you're looking at the ability to pay, you have to make sure that the employer is able to meet the requirements of the US Department of Labor, that he can pay the salary to the employee. And that salary is based upon the prevailing wages in the market at that time when you're going to apply. So let's talk about prevailing wages, Sonu.
Okay. So once we are done with that step, we prepare a job requirement generally. We share it with the employers. If they approve it, then we file the prevailing wage determination request, which is Department of Labor's Form ETA 9141. And we go to the website flag.dol.gov. We file that form. General processing time pre-COVID used to be 5 to 6 months. We'll get prevailing wage determination. Now it's taking longer, maybe 8, 9 months. So folks who are in backlogged community, India and China, and they are on H-1B, they should be starting with their green card process early in the stages.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now, Sonu, I am working for a law firm and I'm in troubled waters, because what happens now is that my client is in trouble. His H-1B is going to expire anytime soon. I just have 5 months remaining.
Okay.
Now, I'm nervous, but I also checked the fact that he cannot get any, any extra time, because, he spent all the time in the United States of America now. So now what I'm trying to do is to come up with a creative way so that I can get the PERM approved in 5 months. Now, as you know, that by the time you get the prevailing wages, it's going to be a while from the government.
Yes.
How can we make sure that we use an alternative wage survey in this case and file the PERM by the time you're getting the wages from the government? Is that possible, and how can we do that?
So generally, alternate wage surveys is a way to avoid the higher salary which the Department of Labor, when they issue the prevailing wage determination, they say this is the salary that the employer should be getting. But if you don't agree with Department of Labor, when we submit the prevailing wage determination request, we can use the alternate wage surveys. And how we do it, when we submit that form ETA 9141, there is an option that it gives you. Do you want Department of Labor's survey, OES survey, or you want to use private survey? We check out private surveys and we upload that survey with them. Ultimately, when we get the prevailing wage from the DOL, they use the survey that we had provided, and accordingly they put that wages.
Okay, so this is what I generally do in these cases. I basically look at the alternative wage survey just as basically a guideline to see what the wages are. And I generally go for the higher limit in order to avoid an audit and a denial, because you're looking at a crunch over here. You're looking at a time crunch over here. So let the employer know that, I'm sorry, you may have to bite the bullet. If you really like this employee very much, and if you want to sponsor him, go for the high amount. Because what is happening, you're exactly getting, a median from these people of what the expected salary would be. Take an example about a systems analyst with 3 years of experience. From the back of my mind, I know it should be over 90,000. Once if we get the alternative survey, I would keep it 95 if exactly your company can pay and if you don't want to lose that employee. So what you did is within that time crunch, you had a win-win. You didn't have to wait too much until the prevailing wages came back, got this alternate survey, and you filed it, and God willing, it should get approved. Now comes another problem. I told you that unfortunately this guy is 3 years from India. What I would do in these cases is, does the job need a bachelor's degree? My answer is straight no. Because a PERM is different than an H-1B. 2 separate laws, 2 separate regulations, 2 separate laws altogether. And then after that, what I would do is I would make sure, because you're going to put a bachelor's degree, goodbye, your PERM will be denied because the person, based upon the credential evaluation, doesn't have the 4-year degree. So you can go for an associate, you can ask for experience, but make sure that you do it properly. These are common mistakes I've seen. I've taught a lot of, people over the years in my firm, but I've seen these are common mistakes which are done by many, many paralegals. And even by the best lawyers have committed such mistakes because it's not their fault. Because, every country has its own kind of requirement of education. So therefore, if I'm going back to the importance of getting a good credential evaluation from day one. Sonu, what would you say on that?
Yes, I agree. Totally agree, Mr.
Good. Next thing on the PERM application, which I've seen, is people get confused, Sonu, about what is this vocational experience and what is this training and what is this regular experience. Can you kind of, tell me that how would you handle such an issue? Because half the time you're seeing this PERM form, people say, I generally ask my client very clearly, hey, listen, have you done any vocational or something? They generally say no. Go straight, hit the nail on the head, go for the actual experience. In most of these cases, only if the person doesn't have experience, only has vocational, then you need to deep dive into it. Because when you go to fill up too many boxes, sometimes you can see trigger an audit. Sonu, your questions on that?
Well, that's the main reason that I request a work experience letter at the very first stage. And then I know that this person has this kind of experience, and I make my job requirements accordingly.
Good. So look at how you kind of systematically proceed. And then after that, when you're filing the PERM, you have to make sure. Now, this is one thing which I've seen about a PERM application. When people file it, right? Oh, I'm done with the PERM, I'm going to file it. Never commit that mistake, folks. Never commit that mistakes. I generally look at a PERM at least 3 to 5 times. There's a reason, because what are they looking at in a PERM is to find mistakes. And if you find mistakes, your case will be denied. Sonu, your thoughts on that?
So on PERM application, even a single wrong checkbox might result to a straight denial, not even an RFE or anything, straight denial, even a wrong single checkbox. So generally what I follow is I review 2 times and I have someone else review it multiple times. There can be human errors, even if everything is correct or not, there might be human errors.
And those things happen a lot in the PERM application process.
Yeah.
Now, another thing is that, of course, we are going to go back and forth because it's such a great subject to talk about. Is the other thing which I've seen is that sometimes people take the filing of the PERM application very lightly. Please do not do that. You may trigger an audit.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is when do audits trigger? When do they trigger? I had someone basically from an IT company. And they said, well, my manager is so good. She knows everything. 6 of my PERMs got approved. Person didn't have a law degree. 7 times, guess what happened? Department of Labor came to the office and said, excuse me, what are you doing, folks, over here? So remember, having a lawyer is very different than having someone in your office who can just do it. It's like taking 2 Tylenol, drinking the water without understanding the consequences. So now I'm seeing that very often. And the sad reality is I've seen companies getting into big trouble. Can you shed light on that exactly? Why is the Department of Labor so kind of particular about looking at this?
So generally, I've seen mainly audits. So first of all, there is random audit. Anybody can be audited. But there are chances where you have higher chances of being audited by DOL. First is, if you ever require that a foreign language is necessary for you to do the job, there are very high chance you will get an audit. Another example is in your job requirements, you don't require any kind of experience. So for example, the job requires a bachelor's degree, no experience. There's a high chance that labor certification will go for an audit.
Right.
And there can be other examples too.
They get into trouble. And I've handled audits for companies too. And in that I've seen like the paperwork requirement is miserable. Can you talk about how many years the employer has to keep a record? And we'll get back to this, but how long do you have to preserve the record when you file, multiple PERMs and everything, and even if you're filing a single PERM?
For 7 years, you have to keep the record.
7 years, folks. Make sure that you have a perfect record for 7 years. Another problem which I've seen is that companies should be very careful because we have also a lot of companies, because I handle PERMs for companies too, a lot of them. And please do yourself a favor. Anytime you get a resume, from a qualified candidate who applies for the job. Make sure that you keep a proper record. By the word proper record, I mean not sending letters by regular mail, sending paper, sending it by certified mail, documenting it properly. If not, call the person in for an interview, folks. That is very, very important for you. So make sure that the person comes in for an interview and you take it further from there. That is very important in PERM applications. So, Sonu, your thoughts on that?
Yes, I totally agree, Mr. Gehi. You nailed the point, actually. Totally agree.
So that is critically important because you're just going to wind up in troubled waters.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, Sonu, which I've seen is that now you have this employee coming up and the employer saying, I really want John Doe to be sponsored right now. And the issue is that, oh my God, I need to begin the PERM application. How soon can you finish up the advertising requirements under PERM?
Okay, so all right. Minimum time that would take is, I would say 60 days, because the job order, you have to publish it for 30 days. Within those 30 days, you can finish all your other advertisements, like 2 Sunday ads or website posting or office posting. And then once the jobs are published, you have to wait for 30 days to file the labor certification. So minimum 60 days, you can finish all your advertisement process.
Right.
Yeah.
So
60 days.
the earliest you can file is like 60 days is your waiting period. But don't you think you're going to still get resumes from people who are interested in this position? Because, suppose after 60 days now, you did everything, you're still getting resumes. How are you going to handle that situation, Sonu?
You have to keep those in your records, in your audit file.
Yes. And what do you keep in an audit file? Can you let people know so that they can, let people know?
Okay, in your audit file, it's called a recruitment summary. You keep all your ads that you published, like your Sunday ad, your SWA job order proofs, other ads that you published, plus any resumes that you received from the candidates, and how you responded or rejected these candidates. Everything has to be documented.
Good. What do you mean by everything has to be documented? Can you tell me a common file, what should be in it?
Okay, so generally in our office, we call it audit file. What we keep is the prevailing wage determination that we receive from DOL.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing is the Sunday ad tier sheets. Third thing is if the ads were published on the website, the printout of those and the notice of filing, which is published, which put it on the office notice board, a copy of that signed by the employer, plus any resumes that we received in response to the job ads. And if we communicated with those candidates and rejected them, then copies of those letters that were sent to them. This is all we put in our audit file.
Superb. Superb. So look at professionalism, folks. And now, after 4 minutes, we'll take a break because for 2 minutes, because Anjali has to say a few things. But the other thing which I've noticed is that exactly of the 60-day, you're done with it. And after that, you are kind of prepared. Now, let's deep dive into it a little more. So there are people who don't even know how these ads to be placed, where those ads has to be placed. What are the rules and regulations of the Department of Labor in the publication of these ads? For example, can you talk about the 2 Sundays? Can you talk about basically having it on their website, having it on basically the job order? How can they prepare very well for this, Sonu?
So generally, 2 Sundays are mandatory, okay? And plus 1 SWA job order, mandatory.
SWA is State Workforce Agency for people.
State Workforce
do
Agency,
this,
yeah.
right?
Yes. And the 4th is the notice of filing, which is you post on the notice office job board. These 4 are
No, that's one thing important I want to say. This is why most people forget. And, a lot of lawyers also forget this. Since I've done audits in the past for, in one of the companies, remember, where do you place those 2 kind of internal postings? Not in your bathroom, not in the kitchen of the company. Because when the officer comes, hey, listen, it's over here. Where is it? Where's the job order? Oh, in the bathroom. Where's the job order posted? Okay, in the kitchen. Why? Because everyone goes to eat over there. He's going to give you a nice laugh and tell you, I'm going to join in the kitchen very soon. And in the kitchen, he's not going to eat. He's going to give you a very good violation recipe. Then you're going to say, oh my God, why did that happen? Because it should be in two conspicuous places. Means that when someone enters your company, just make sure it's out on the bulletin board. Now, I've also seen an officer questioning one smart employee. You know what he did? A very, very brilliant guy. He read the requirements, and sometimes some of these clients, they think they're absolute geniuses. They know more than the lawyers who are attending here. He actually basically had this internal posting requirement, and the font was so small that nobody could read. So I remember this question coming up where the officer said, "So can you read this?" He said, "Yes, if I go very closely." It should be legible to the eye. That is a conspicuous notice, folks. You cannot minimize the font so much that nobody can read it. And it should not be in the corner of your front desk, then right behind you that nobody can see it. Be careful about those things. Be very careful if you're a big company. Be careful, especially if you're in the corporate. And that's exactly what people are doing is wrong over here. So Anjali, I think it's time for you to talk about a few things of, Sonu, how can Mylegalsoftware, like, you use this for years, how can that be helpful to people, for monitoring deadlines and everything and keeping things in order? And what is your recommendation about it? In all fairness, and be a straight shooter, please.
Yeah, so Mr. Gehi, I have used several kind of legal software, right? I worked with several immigration firms. And for a long time, I worked on, when I was working at your firm, Mylegalsoftware. I think this is one of the best options for lawyers. It combines so many other features in one tool. And I personally highly recommend this software.
Well, the thing that I kind of prefer the most are the reports that we get, because they're also the deadline management. That's something that I use a lot more than anything. But of course, everyone has different things to, people like different things at different times. Some people like the record keeping, some people, but for me, it was exactly the reports, because anytime, sometimes if an employee would call me, when did you file this? What happened? Once I remember that a client wanted to leave me, I was able to pull up the damn report and tell him, I've done everything, sir. So better not kind of, pull a fast one on me. It's not going to work. So that the record keeping was something that I was a fan of. Now, Anjali, it's up to you now to talk a little bit from your end. Sorry, we are involved in this discussion. Please proceed. Then we'll be back into the session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gehi. Thank you so much, Mr. Lal, for your knowledgeable session. I hope the attendees are taking notes of everything that has been shared here. And a very warm welcome to everybody who started watching us. And we have with us Mr. Lal and Mr. Gehi. We're discussing about the employment-based immigration. And also that in case if you are an experienced attorney, experienced lawyer, so you can let us know. You can drop us an email at legalhelp@mylegalsoftware.com. Wherein we can review your resume and you can be invited to be our next guest speaker. As a part of being a guest speaker, you get added on the website as a attorney on the attorney panel of the guest of the speaker list, as well as you get a certificate that you can use, that is like appreciation certificate from Mylegalsoftware. We also provide free marketing for the attorneys who provide us their knowledgeable sessions in the webinars. And other than that, so like we were talking about the software and the mentorship part of it. So I'd also like to take this opportunity and mention that Mylegalsoftware also provides a huge library of forms that can be used across immigration cases. We also help in adding the external resources in case if somebody is using anything for an example, if you have a LexisNexis account that you use regularly for your research, so you can always add that to the link and you can access it from our same dashboard. And like I said, we provide a library of forms where, people like lawyers and paralegals can basically use those forms. And other than that, what we specially provide is the legal mentorship. So like Mr. Lal and Mr. Gehi were discussing that it is fairly complicated, that the PERM application should be filled out with utmost perfection. So there is where the legal mentorship comes into the picture. For the people who sign up with MYList, we provide free legal mentorship and they can send us the questions and we get back to them within depending on what kind of questions you have. So we give free legal mentorship. We have an attorney panel, Mr. Jody Felice, who was a previous speaker, Mr. Gehi, Mr. Lal, and similarly a lot of other attorneys. And all these attorneys are extremely, extremely experienced. We also offer form specialists in case if you want to know more about how to fill forms and which forms to fill. So we can talk more about the software details. You can give me a call at 212-390-9493, or you can just go to the website and schedule a demo with us, and we can show you more features. So that was about the software part of it. And if you are an experienced attorney, you can always forward us your resume. We have a panel that, of course, checks on whether or not you're perfect for the speaking paneling. And that's where my part ends. So I'd like to give more time to Mr. Gehi and Mr. Lal to discuss the questions. Yeah, we have questions.
Folks, I am the founder of Mylegalsoftware, and I want to disclose that clearly. I'm the founder, and we basically make sure that even Sonu had given tremendous inputs to us what lawyers were looking for, and thank you for that. And that made it possible for us to launch. And folks, as you rightly heard, on our mentors list, you'll have Sonu Lal, you'll have me, you'll have Jody Felice. And we are trying to make sure that we have very, very good lawyers joining our panel, as Anjali said that. And if you're highly experienced in whatever you do, doesn't have to be immigration, can be any field of law. And if you're good at it, you'll get that opportunity to speak, and your credentials will be highlighted, good marketing for you, and you'll make sure that exactly you also rise in the profession. Well, this program is created for lawyers by lawyers, which means we want to promote you at the same time. All right, next. So now, Sonu, let's take some questions.
Yeah.
Can a new lawyer, okay, let me start from the very beginning. All right, question coming. Can a new lawyer learn about the PERM application? Of course, a new lawyer can learn about the PERM application, but I would definitely go for some hand-holding. So even people who've learned under me, and when Sonu was also working with me, I was very particular that basically I look at everything, because do not just file the PERM application, please. Go to any mentor of your choice. Do not take a risk, because you are risking the life of the alien over here. Because end of the day, if the PERM gets denied, it's a headache to redo the entire thing again. And probably the person may not be eligible for an H-1B extension. So be very careful with that issue. So take some hand-holding, that'll be very good. And MYLS will be happy to help you. You can speak to Anjali about that if you need that. So that is one very important question. Next. What happens if the application is denied? Either you can refile it or you can appeal it, but appeals are hardly successful. So, what's your take on that?
Generally, I recommend refiling. Appeal process is a very cumbersome, lengthy process.
Sonu, I've also won one appeal in the past, just to let you know that. But it is very difficult, wherein you have to actually show that the officer was incorrect. And generally, 9 out of 10 times you'll be denied. If you're smart, just refile it. You know what I know? But there's one thing I want to point out here. And many paralegals forget this, and most seasoned lawyers know. You may be able to use some of the advertisements over there in the past. You may is the word. So if it is during that 6-month period, well and good if it gets denied somewhere there. But calculate the timeline and you may be able to save some money for the client. Sonu, what is your say on that?
Yes, I agree.
All right. And the second thing is that what I've seen sometimes when employers advertise, and this is where they get into audits, Department of Labor also looks at your website, whether you posted the job or not. And sometimes you don't see those jobs on the website. They're going to come and knock at your IT company's door. Where is the ad? And if you're going to say it's on page 3, page 4, they're going to come and welcome you with a gift, which is known as a very nice penalty out there. Be careful, folks. Be careful. My paralegal knows everything. Your paralegal doesn't know that immigration is going to come. Department of Labor is going to come and audit you and see that exactly that, that they have a lot of latitude. Now, how can they come? Someone may say, okay, I complied with the law by putting this on page 2. Probably you're correct. They may not say anything. They may look at other factors and say, this is where you are wrong, sir, and I'm going to get you there. So go with any seasoned immigration attorney, and there are tons of lawyers over here who might be great at what they do, but make sure folks go with good lawyers who know what they're doing. That's very important. Sonu, what is your take on that? Have you seen audits? Have you seen how they work?
Yeah, Mr. Yeah, I've seen a lot
Very
of
detailed.
audits.
Very,
Very detailed, very cumbersome. Yeah.
very much. And I've seen them leaving with happy faces and after that finding companies. So the employer was happy once. He said, wow, you were so happy with me. He said, thank you, Mr. ABC. Left. After that, the guy got a fine. Be careful. Another reason why people get audited, quote unquote, body shoppers. Can you talk about what is body shopping?
The IT consulting companies?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, where actually you're not hiring the employee, you are just subcontracting those employees.
So be very careful to make sure that who is the employer in those cases. You may just be the commission agent. So be very careful. Those are things. And in some of these cases, the consultant is working in California, your office is in New Jersey, and after that, you did not put up the internal posting properly. You did not get the prevailing wages properly. You get audited, the PERM will be revisited and denied, and you're looking at getting into troubled waters. Sonu, your say on that?
Yeah, Mr. A. You have to be very, very careful about these kind of issues.
So this is how you actually look at a PERM under a microscope. Of course, I mean, I can go on and on this issue. Now, let's basically look into an issue wherein let's give people some options. This is what you have to learn. Now, your PERM is filed. You looked at the name. You looked at the qualifications. Just to kind of, sum it up, slowly. The time is nearing because we still have to do an I-140. After that, you got everything in order. But I look at qualifications very carefully. I also look at the work experience very carefully. And when you are getting those work experience letters, make sure there's enough meat in those work experience letters. Why? You cannot say he was the best ever employee, the most handsome looking guy on the face of this earth. And basically, I would love to hire him because he looks as wonderful as Tom Cruise and everything. They're not interested in that, folks. No, sorry, you're wrong. You need to make sure that the job experience letter spells out the ABCDs, means the job description. Analyze, design, develop software programs using knowledge of C, Java, MySQL, Spring, Hibernate, Tomcat. And on the front end, we need to show what the skills are, whether he's working on Angular JSP or whether he's working on some other tool. Yes, I'm pretty good at computer science too. So make sure that you have proper terms, what the employer needs. You cannot tailor it according to the needs of the employee because you have to you have to basically make sure that the employer needs those skills. And one common thing is that people ask me, can someone who is a barber, B-A-R-B-E-R, barber, file for a PERM from an IT company, Sonu, and why? Simple question, but people, since it's an ABCD course, why?
Not from an IT company, but a barbershop can, of course, definitely sponsor a barber.
Sonu, you're wrong.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'll tell you can. I'll tell you how. This is, I love to crack jokes. Suppose, first thing I would see is if this barber's from some other country, he's from Russia or some other country, look at this. How many men are working in that company whom he needs to shave every day? Look at that. Look at that.
Okay.
And there were 78 men working in the firm who need a shave every day. And the company said, I want to have a shave. Who said that a barber cannot qualify in this case? 78 men looking for a shave in a day. How many hours is that in a week? More than 40 hours? So one should never say no to a PERM application. So do think outside the box. I know you all enjoyed the joke. No one might have thought that I would come up with this answer. But if that guy is ready to give a shave every day, and if he's not from India, Friday date is not current in India, and is a barber a skilled occupation? Yes.
No, it is not.
Yes, right? Or no?
No, it's
The
not.
barber has 7 years experience.
Still, it will be unskilled occupation.
Thank you. Look at, folks, I knew the answer, but we are deliberately playing this quiz with you. You need to see whether this occupation falls under the skilled occupation list or whether it falls in the unskilled category. Can you talk about the unskilled occupations? How can one find that out, Sonu?
I mean, like sponsoring people with no skills.
Yes, which means babysitters is one example.
Yeah.
The occupation should be in an excess. For example, you're looking at drivers. There's no need for drivers in the US. So that is known as an unskilled occupation. So can you tell people what does the word skilled occupation and unskilled occupation mean?
So from PERM point of view, the difference is the more advertisement for a professional or skilled position, less advertisement for a non-skilled position. And there are higher chances for unskilled position. The audit chances will increase dramatically.
Very high. Now, let me tell you, the most common thing that comes up is dealing with cooks, number one.
Yeah.
The chances of audit are very high, especially when you're looking at a doctor who wants a full-time cook in the house. You're looking at audits in those cases. Because they say, why do you need it? Why do you want to have 40 hours for a cook? They can just come in for around a few hours and finish. So these are examples that you all need to know, right from IT, right from basically any industry you're talking about. It's a medical industry, that's something we need to talk about. You're looking at a nurse with an associate degree. You're looking at basically people who work in construction companies, and you're dealing with people who are who are lawnmowers coming here. Unskilled occupations. Things can be done, but you've got to be very careful. Let me take some more questions. Time is running out, but we'll go through it very well. Benefits of getting a wage survey and the advertising in progress at the same time. Would you recommend that? It should be fine, as far as I think your wages are going to be above what the prevailing wages would be. What is your say on that? What is your take on that, Sonu?
Yeah, Mr. Gehi. If you're offering proper wages, it should be good.
Can one begin the advertising requirement before the wage survey or while the wage survey is? The answer is yes.
Yes.
How does one begin with prevailing wages for the PERM application? We mentioned that already. Prevailing wages, you can basically, apply with the, you can do the wage survey with the government. You can also get basically alternate wage survey, and that's how you can do it. But you definitely need the wage survey, the prevailing wages from the government.
Yes.
Is there a government website which can get prevailing wages? Sonu, what's the site?
It's flag.dol.gov.
Flag.dol.gov. That's the site you're going to use. And through that, you can get it. And I believe that's how we can go. So now,
yeah, and the form number is not ETA 9141.
The form number is ETA 9141. Is there a checklist to follow? I think for the checklist, I think you'll have to call Anjali, because he's on the mentor team. Sonu is, I am there. And if you're a member of, I don't know whether you're a member of Mylegalsoftware, and if you use the product, then I believe we'll be happy to help you with all that. And the biggest thing that we do, folks, if you're lawyers, if you're a paralegal, we have support available for you. So if you take Mylegalsoftware, if you have a question, we'll get back to you. We'll try to help you as much as we can. So that's the biggest thing that people have been coming to us for. And we make sure that we have very good lawyers on our panel who can basically help you out. So Mylegalsoftware, even if you're a corporation watching this, if you're an attorney, and we have a big immigration kind of pool here, a specialized kind of software for that, but it's also meant for general practice lawyers. So it doesn't matter what kind of practice you have, and we can at least help you with the research. If we cannot appear in your state, we'll be happy to give a hand. Of course, we may not be licensed in your state, but we can help you with the research. That's a question that someone has over here. And is MYLS kind of good for this? I think Sonu answered the question because he's a user of it. He's used it in the past and he knows the value. And before we forget, some disclaimers that the advice in this particular session is general in nature, and it does not apply to any specific facts or circumstances, and it should not be constituted as attorney advice under any circumstances. And that's very important from our perspective. As a disclosure, we want to make that very clear to everybody. And I'm the founder of Mylegalsoftware, and that's exactly about some disclosures we need to make. What is the importance of credential done before? It's a tremendously important thing for you to do it first. And I know many people don't do it, because if you are very good in your game, make sure that you have the tools of the trade well in order before you proceed further. I'm from India and I have a degree, then how can I market in PERM application? All right. need to make sure that you go with a very good law firm and make sure that exactly, most law firms are good. Some of them are good. Some of them don't even know that India has 3-year degrees. And they may just put you in the wrong occupation. Your application may be denied. So go with seasoned lawyers if you are just joining the show to know about your PERM application, or make a recommendation to your company that I need ABC law firm handling my case. You can also change your lawyer. And I work with Gehi and Associates. You can talk to us if needed. Can you talk about the internal postings for PERM? I would make sure that you're seeking help for a foreign worker. The number of hours should be a full-time occupation, which is the requirement. If you put part-time, your application will be denied. Job description, the degree required, and basically at the end of the day, degree, job description, it details the degree, and you have to also make sure where to send the application. And that's one thing that people forget, and they get into trouble for that. Sonu, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Mr. It has to be posted for 10 business days.
10 business days. Now look at the word which he mentioned, 10 business days, which means, oh, the ad was up and I also counted Saturday and Sunday. You're wrong. There was a holiday in between. You had Yom Kippur. You had Christmas. Is that a business day? No. And I always tell people, if you're a good lawyer, if you have time, mail it out 2 days late, but make sure that you cross your I's and your T's. Once if a PERM is denied, it's a living nightmare. Trust me, folks. It's just a headache and a harassment. And plus your client is never going to stop. I have very high regard for lawyers, every lawyer who's joined us today, because I know the hard work that you all do, but clients don't understand what you guys do. So just make sure that spend that extra time, and we all can just do our best. That's all we can do over here. Why is SWA job order? Why is it so important, Sonu?
It is a regulatory requirement. It says that if you are doing a PERM application, you have to post your job on these SWA websites for 30 days. You have to do it.
Good. See, that's a mandatory requirement. So if you miss that, your application will be denied. Yeah. This is one fantastic question, whoever's asked it. You may do everything if you don't put up the SWA, and with advertisements, at least you can show that the ad was here and there, but with SWA, don't miss it. Yeah. It'll be denied straight up. Anjali, I think you have to say a few things, so that we'll be back with the last portion in the next 5 or 7 minutes.
So I have a question on email also. The attendee wants to know how many times can my application be denied and how many times can I reapply? Like, is there a limit on the numbers?
No, you can continue applying as much as you want until you get it. But make sure that the alien is legal in the country, because if he accrues unlawful presence under 212A9B of the INA, he may not be able to adjust under 245A unless if there's an exceptional situation out there. That's my answer.
Thank you, sir.
So still I can talk. I can still tell you this. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So you have to say something about your company or what do you need to do. Let us know. And
yes,
then
sir.
we can take it further.
Actually, so while we were discussing the questions, so what crossed my mind is that a lot of times when a person is filling a form, so some forms are pretty complicated while some forms are pretty easy to fill. So we give a solution for both of the things. For an example, if you are filling a complicated or lengthy form, so we provide a place like the section where you can edit the PDF and then save half through, and then you can start from where you actually stopped. So a lot of times, because lawyers are filling on a lot of applications, a lot of forms. So this particular feature comes in handy because the PDFs are editable, so you can just edit them as and when you want to. Other than that, so we provide a library of forms, and along with that, we also provide a calendar feature that actually keeps a track of all the deadlines and the reminders. So basically, for an example, if you have some event coming up, say 5 months from now, you can add an event to the list, to the calendar, so that you know how your calendar looks like for the month. And if you want a reminder, say 1 day before, you want to remind your client, say 1 day before the application or the event, so you can simply drop in the SMS just from the same dashboard stating that, hey, you dear XYZ, you have your this event on the court on this date, please be alert or please be present. So, I mean, all of these features are really liked and talked about during our demos and during our feedbacks. And sir, I would like to take this opportunity and mention that we also integrate with a lot of softwares. For an example, we integrate directly with Google Calendars so that you are actually in alignment in parallel. You can see what are your other commitments. Along with that, we also have an integration of DocuSign that basically helps you in the e-signatures so that you don't have to take any printout of a form, sign it, and then give it to the delivery boy to deliver to the client. Everything can be done online using DocuSign. We also have a special integration with CardNox that that helps you in the accounting and the billing part. We're also coming up with QuickBooks, Zoom. So, I mean, we are coming up with a customized software that fills all the needs for everyone.
All right. And the other thing is that what I like is that it's reasonably priced. And I think all it takes for people, since we have to go on with the session, we have a few minutes, all it takes for, since we want to continue with the session, folks, if you need to have a demo, get in touch with Anjali, and you can email her, or you can get in touch with the fabulous team. A very special thanks to Urvashi, to Ravi, to Priyanjali, to Anjali, and everyone who joined us today. So I'll make it short now. I-140, Sonu, what people have to know is that concurrent filing, be careful about it. Don't apply for people from India. That's number one. If you get an RFE, the most common pointers which I've seen is basically the ability to pay, number one. And that's where most lawyers go wrong and most people go wrong, because they don't look at the tax returns properly. Look at the tax returns of the company properly. And also make sure that sometimes you may be able to use assets of the company that were owned, which is not taken into consideration by many lawyers. Look into that very carefully. Use that, because your assets can also count sometimes, because you have around $5 million sitting in that person's account over there. And there was a time wherein the person had given a personal guarantee from the company's behalf. Well, you found your way out right there. So those are things that you need to look into. Ability to pay, whether it's a bona fide job offer, very important. Third, whether the person had a 3-year degree and you got your PERM approved, you were laughing, but now immigration is telling, I'm so sorry to let you know, you use bachelor's degree in your PERM, and now you have a 3-year degree here. Goodbye, darling, go home. What? No choice, folks. Go back and do your PERM again. Happy days are here again. They're not happy days, they're sad days are here again. So be careful, look at everything under a microscope. Make sure that even if you have a limited amount of experience in immigration, go with people who are very good at what they do. And if you go with people they're good at what they do, you'll be able to avoid a lot of errors. Remember one thing, mistakes are, gift of Mother Nature to everybody, that we would never get to the next level. But it doesn't hurt to take help. And, taking help is something very important. And I think if anyone has any questions about immigration, and if it's New York, we can also help you with divorces. We can help you with, bankruptcies, credit card problems, whatnot. We deal with a host of different areas in New York. And if you're dealing with federal law, we can help you with research. If you're in some other state, the company can help you with kind of research, but we cannot give legal advice for other states. So we want to make those things clear. But if you're an immigration practitioner, we have it all for you. And if you're a general practitioner, we have this one, what do you call that? Anjali has a special portal for that general practice software for general practice lawyers. If you don't do immigration, and Immigration Speed is the customized software for immigration lawyers. So Sonu, I think thank you so much. And folks, I hope you all enjoyed the session. And I know we were taking some baby steps for people over here. But if there's anything complicated, we'll have sessions. Now, next week, we're going to have another very good session with Sonu. And it's going to be the ABCs of the H-1B application. So that's a big money maker for a lot of law firms who want to start an H-1B practice. It's a big money maker for IT firms. And if you're an IT lawyer, Immigration Speed is very good for IT companies too. And this is what we continue with. Sonu, your thoughts on basically what one should look at an RFE?
The I-140 RFEs?
Yes.
Yeah, so generally I receive RFEs only 2 topics. One is ability to pay, other one is bona fide job offer. Ability to pay, generally, if the employee is already working with you in some other status like H-1B, then generally, even if you don't have any income, you are good. But if the person is not already working with you, then your net income has to be whatever his salary is mentioned on his labor
So
certification.
remember the word he said, net income, folks. Remember the word net income. That's what I wanted to point out. What do you learn over here? Those little things which you may not find in a lot of books. You may look at the gross income, that may be $78 billion, but the net income was negative. You're clean bold. But it can be good if the company is making 78 billion and if the employee is getting paid on the books, there's nothing to worry.
Yeah.
But if it's an employee who's not on your books with that salary, there's a lot to worry.
Yeah.
So folks, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody. And I think Sonu, you'll be back with us again next week.
Yeah, sure.
I think
Sure,
Anjali has a certificate to confer upon you, and people who speak at the session, you'll be honored by Anjali, and we'll be seeing you again next week, and we'll take that further.
Thank you.
Anjali, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Lal. Thank you so much, Mr. Gehi, for joining us in the event today. And we'll be looking forward for the next session. And I hope all the attendees have had a good session today. And in case if you have any more questions, you can always drop us an email that on legalhelp@mylegalsoftware.com. Alternatively, if you want a demo for MyLegalSoftware, you can always go to the website and schedule a meeting there with us. And other than that, if you have any other legal related query, legal related issue, you can always speak to us from our website or from our email, or even join our sessions regularly, because we give live mentorship here. So thank you everyone for joining in.
So our next session now is, can you give the date to people? And the topic is going to be ABCs. Let's type that up. ABCs of filing an H-1B petition. ABCs of filing an H-1B. It's good for people who are starting off with their new practice. It's good for people who haven't done the H-1Bs before. It's good for people who are paralegals with law firms. And we are going to talk about that. And all the forms are already in Mylegalsoftware. And if there's any further thing, they can contact Anjali for this.
Thank you,
Anjali,
Mr.
any
Gehi.
questions?
Thank you, Mr. Lal. See you guys in the next session. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.